You know, this journey will take you a lot of different places, and it'll also really confuse you at times. It'll make you ask yourself, why am I here? What got me here? How did I start there and end up here? And what's the reason behind what's going on right now? And you'll ask these questions in positive and negative lights at times. You'll look back and you'll sit back and you'll look at everything and you'll wonder what the bigger plan is. Like, what's really going on? And should you continue to trust it? I know many times in my journey I've felt this, right? Especially, it happens a lot when you have other people that are in questioning of your motives and your moves, naturally, right? Because when you embark on that journey, when you embark on or when you make the decision to work on yourself and take full accountability for where you're at, you naturally run into walls. You naturally run into the old versions of yourself that wasn't accountable, and the projections in the universe of that old version of yourself. You naturally run into your old subconscious reality, the ways that you believed the world to be in the past. You see, I believe that we don't live on a linear timeline. We live on a quantum timeline. And what I've read about, learned about, and then experimented with on my own is that everything's interconnected, right? We've all heard that before, but I've experienced a very deep understanding of it at my young age, 23 years old. You see, when I first started, it was just to make money, right? I just wanted to have money and be free with my time, be able to spend more time with my girlfriend at the time, my now wife. And what that led me to is a more purposeful existence than I could ever imagine. What it has led me to is having the life of my dreams in a way that I never dreamed of, if that makes sense. And so as we work through things and even as we start and then work through things, we begin at some point, the more accountable we become, to see how interconnected things are. We begin to see how the decisions we make, the choices we make, the emotions that we allow ourselves to embrace, how it all creates the world around us in our own individual way. Now, this might sound like some spiritual woo-woo stuff to you, but it's not. At this point, it's quantum physics. The same things the mystics have been talking about for thousands of years. People like Neville Goddard was talking about in the 50s. Quantum physics now confirms, one way or another. Do the research on your own. I believe at this point in complete parallel realities, to the point of which everything's already finished. Neville Goddard, again, talked about this in the 50s. Creation's already finished. Everything you desire is already out there. The version of you that has everything you desire is already out there in a different reality. So it's just up to you to tap into that different reality and then stay attuned to it to have those things manifest for you. Now, if we look at this on a fourth dimensional timeline and we don't take time as much into account, we begin to look at things a little bit differently. Now, as a third dimensional being, this can be difficult to do. But imagine for a second, very simply put, a different dimension higher than what we live in, where time does not separate everything. So in that fourth dimension, you are the same as your 80-year-old self. My 23-year-old self is the same as my 80-year-old self. My 23-year-old accomplishments is at the same value as my 80-year-old accomplishments. So again, as a third dimensional being, it's hard to completely comprehend. But the easiest way I've found to comprehend it is the difference of time not being a thing. Meaning me at 23 versus me at 80 is the same. So with that very simple understanding, then you can break things down into parallel realities. If we understand that creation is already finished, everything has already happened in one reality or another, it's just up to us to attune to those different realities. And we also know that those different realities are the same as us on the fourth dimension. Then we just have to learn how to regulate our nervous system and our body, our subconscious mind, to those different realities. Because we also know that our subconscious mind creates our reality and our conscious mind impregnates our subconscious mind. Right? Hope I haven't lost you here. I'll recap. Your conscious mind, what you're always thinking with, is what you impregnate your subconscious mind with. Your subconscious mind makes up 90% of your thoughts on a daily basis, and you don't even realize it's going on. Right? Your subconscious mind is where all your beliefs lay. It is where your self-fulfilling prophecies lay. It is where your understanding of the world lays. Meaning, your conscious thought, what you consciously think, what you would tell me that you thought about today, is some 10% or less of your daily thoughts. And 90% of your overall thoughts and understandings and belief is your subconscious that most people do not understand is their subconscious or is even a different part of their mind. That's just the way they see the world. Right? So if we know that our conscious mind impregnates our subconscious mind, then once we understand that, then we can start to work on our subconscious mind. That's where I started at 5 years ago. I realized that I had a lot of limiting beliefs. I realized that I had a lot of understandings of the world that did not help me. So I began to work on those to make them better, to make things a little bit better. I'm not sure if you can hear my daughter, but my wife has her. So I began to work on those things and work through them. As time passed, my subconscious mind began to pick up different understandings and beliefs around reality, different understandings and beliefs around my life and who I am. Thus, my reality began to change. I had different situations that were more pleasurable to me, that were more desirable, that showed me productivity, that showed me I was on the right path. Different synchronicities. Though it was not all sunshine and rainbows at all, I was met with much what you would consider in many ways failure at different times, right? Struggle. I knew I was on the path. I knew that I was creating my reality based on what I knew was my desired reality and where I was going. I knew my outcome. And those little things started to line up little by little. Again, if I was still attached to my old identity, my old outcome, I would have only seen the negative things that were going on. But instead, I extremely consistently re-identified to my new chosen reality, right? And I continue to work on it. I continue to work through it in every endeavor I was a part of. I told you guys part of my stories before. I'm not going to go into it here for the sake of what we're talking about. So again, you start to work with your conscious mind to impregnate your subconscious mind. As you work through that, you start to see results. You start to see materializations of your new impregnation of your subconscious mind, of your subconscious mind creating a different reality. But again, your subconscious mind, it takes a lot of time to reprogram, depending on how old you are as well, and the severity of the emotional holds that are within your subconscious mind, meaning what kind of trauma you went through and what you're attached to in this life. So as you're working through it, your subconscious mind that you're reprogramming starts sending signals of that old paradigm, that old identity, that old subconscious understanding of the world. And those are the things that are easy to identify with that then can bring you back. Those are the things that your conscious mind will look at and see and feel pain and feel whatever negative emotion that comes up from it, and then pull you back down. And then again, begin to continue to program your subconscious mind with those negative emotions of the past. But if you look past those signals, if you regulate your nervous system in those moments and you breathe through it, you get past the negative reaction, the trauma hold, right? The energy that's coming up. If you move past it and you identify it, understand it, and then move past it, right? Then you're able to continue reprogramming that subconscious with the new identity, with the new outcome. But it's in that moment when those old triggers come up, when your old subconscious, your old paradigm throws out the trigger, it's in those moments that your destiny is foretold. In that you either choose your new reality or your old reality, right? And this is the hard part, because those triggers feel normal. They feel familiar. They feel like what you know to be true. They feel like what you know about the world and what you've been through. And the hardest part about it is that these things are oftentimes, there's always some sort of subconscious trauma that is built in your childhood. They say, I've researched to some degree, again, I could definitely do a lot more, that up to the age of 7, a child is constantly absorbing more than ever, which we know that to be true with my 4-year-old, but up to 7 is what I've heard. They are absorbing the most in terms of their understanding of the world, their energetic relationship with the world, right? And so I believe in those 7 years is when so much of an emotional understanding is calibrated. And then we bring that into the rest of our life. Now, side note here, trauma as a whole, I didn't used to look at it like this, but hearing someone state it in this way changed the way I looked at it forever. Trauma is not, right? I heard a Navy SEAL talk about this, right? And my old previous understanding of trauma before this was, at least sometime before this, was trauma, PTSD, right? The real stuff, like war, right? Someone goes to war, all that kind of stuff. And that was the only kind of version my old paradigm would accept as trauma. Well, then hearing a Navy SEAL stand up on stage, someone who's been through actual real war, and talk about how everybody has trauma, and that truly trauma is just the perceived loss of control, especially as a child, the perceived loss of control. When something negative happens, when something happens that is perceivably negative, and they do not have control, someone doesn't have control, that is trauma. And so with that very simple understanding, you can understand how trauma is everywhere. And when you look at it a step deeper, I believe you could just call it trapped energy within your subconscious based on what you perceived yourself losing control of in those moments, right? So very simple dive right there. If we take that back and we go to look at our subconscious and we take it back into the idea of using our conscious mind to impregnate and change our reality through changing our subconscious mind, because our subconscious mind is changing, always creating our reality, we then start to understand that our subconscious mind is filled with little pieces of trauma, little pieces of trapped energy based on things that we perceived that we had a loss of control within. Now, again, the hard part here is your depth of emotional loss of control, your depth of trauma. Some people go through many more little things. Some people go through many more terrible things. Some people go through a smaller amount of god-awful things, trauma-wise. No matter what you go through, it's your God-given path to work through it, to then overcome it, to then help others do the same. That's my personal conviction. That's what all the traumas that I've been through has working through them, and I've got plenty more to work through, don't get me wrong. And it's an ongoing journey. That's what they've all led me to believe and understand, that I was given them. Yes, they sucked. Yes, I didn't like them. Yes, working through them sucks and it can be hard. But it's working through those that I get to, 1, release them and feel better. 2, understand myself, understand who it is that I am today and why. Understand the people that I went through them with, let's say. Understand them more. Have more compassion for people in general, because you start to realize that everybody is a human going through their own battle in their own timeline with their own sense of emotions and everything. And you also, again, obviously after you do all that, you can reprogram it. You can work through it to get to a much better believing state, right? The opposite of where you were at before, the opposite of what the trauma was holding you on to, right? And so to bring this into another aspect of spirituality, I told you guys before, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. I believe our spirit is absolutely free. Our spirit is one of no limitation. The God spirit, the God molecule, the being one with God, this is the process of being that, of becoming that. Now, knowing our human nature will never be, at least to my understanding, will never be truly one with God on a oneness state. I believe that's probably after we pass and transcend through this life. But while we're here on this planet, it's our job to have that yin and yang, that balance of spirit versus the flesh. Now that I've explained to you guys the subconscious mind in a very simple way and how it attaches onto the past and your old identities and the old beliefs of the world, you can then start to understand that the flesh, your body, your animal, is your subconscious. Your subconscious is controlled and is one and the same with your body. Whereas your conscious mind, or your higher thinking mind, your ability to think truthfully for yourself, is more tied to your spirit. Now, depending on your trauma, depending on your trapped energy in your subconscious, will limit how much your conscious energy, how much your conscious spirit is in control. Let's say you're someone condemned with a life of drugs and alcohol. Those are both bodily things. Those are both fleshly desires, the drugs, the alcohol. Your spirit knows the drugs and alcohol will slowly kill you. Your spirit knows that drugs and alcohol will slowly hurt you and takes you out of a conscious state. Right? But because of whatever's in your subconscious that is drawing you in and attracting you to drugs and alcohol, you think it's okay. And then the other part of it, that's the psychological aspect. Then there's the physical side. Your flesh, your body, part of your subconscious mind is connected to these drugs and alcohol because of the physical addiction, the physical release that you get from these drugs and alcohol. And so you can begin to see that drugs and alcohol, being some of the strongest addictions that there are some of the hardest things to get away from, because it's not just a psychological dependency at that point, it's a physical dependency. It's a physical inner working of not only your body, but of your subconscious, of your mind, of your brain, that then your brain begins to only understand reality through. And it's a deadly loop, right? But back onto a more positive note, you can still always get in front of it through controlling your body, right? You can always get through it by day progression, moment by moment progression, getting the right kind of regulation habits. The thing about alcohol and substance use is that it always becomes a means of regulation. But the thing about drugs and alcohol is that the means of regulation is the same means that creates more issues. It is a means of damage at the same time as it's relieving you of pain in one way or another. And so it's a zero game. It's no win, no gain. But it feels like you're gaining, right? In the short term. Again, I've had my own battle with addiction with drugs and alcohol. And these are the kind of things that help me work through it. Truthfully, alcohol is something I still go back and forth with. But I'm not as bad as I was at one point. And I know that there's still something in me that attracts me to it, and I'm still trying to uncover that. But it's these kind of understandings that help me work through it and take myself out of it and take the doubt and the judgment of myself out of it, to then understand that this is the journey of me working through it. This is the journey of me understanding more about myself, so then I can work through it and help others do the same in one way or another. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video here and it makes sense to you, the things that we discussed today. Know that you are always creating your reality. Your subconscious mind is always working. It's always there in the backseat, whether you realize it or not. And you have to be the one that takes the conscious action to work through it, to begin to impregnate a different understanding, a different belief of life into it. And that journey takes time, but there's nothing that's more worthwhile. There's nothing that you would be better off doing other than that work itself in the backseat of your life, doing what it takes to become the real version of you. Guys, I love you. I hope you enjoyed this. Do me a favor, subscribe below, drop a comment, like. I'm gonna put my Instagram below. Make sure you follow me on there. Tap into Heart Led. Again, we're trying to bring this message to the youth. Nowadays, more than ever, the youth is being, everybody, but the youth in particular is starting out on such a disadvantage in many ways when it comes to that subconscious hold. You see nowadays more than ever, the marketing, the things that target all of us are targeting the kids the same. And they're more efficient than ever before when it comes to targeting the flesh, the subconscious, the weaker parts of ourselves. Seen as the sexuality, right? The different types of food, I mean, everything. The high stimulation, low thinking, low effort kind of environment of marketing and manipulation almost that we live in targets the youth indefinitely because they're the easiest to influence. Once again, they're easier to influence. So they're creating slaves out of all of us. Don't get me started. I don't mean to sound so negative here. That's why we do what we do with Heart Led. Our journey, our goal is to empower over 1 million students to become Heart-led leaders in their communities and in their schools, to then bring the impact to more, to help other students become heart-led, to let go of the fleshly desires, the things that hold them on to reality that are only hurting them, to let go of the generational curses, the generational traumas, to then become something greater, to work through it, to become something that the world is meant to have. You see, I had someone describe to me a month or two back that that's a lot to explain, but every generation, the time it takes to develop fully gets halved, right? And as time goes on, there's different archetypes of conscientiousness, if you will, meaning from tribe type surviving, where it's literally tribe. That's the way our brain thinks. All the way up to now, where there seems to be some sort of awakening happening, where people are waking up and realizing earlier on than ever that we can be a force for good for humanity. And I believe that is what is ushering in this creation era that we're beginning to live in, where we can all create. We can all put our own message and ideas out there. You see, we have to work through our own issues to put our real message out there, though. So that's what we are on the mission of doing with Heartled. So if you want to learn more about that, if you want to come with us for the journey, follow us on Instagram. I plan to get a YouTube channel up for that as well at some point. I might convert this channel. I'm not entirely sure. But let me know what you guys think. Either way, guys, rock and roll with it. You deserve abundance. You deserve to live a life of your dreams. And it takes you working through your own stuff to get there. So I believe in you. I love you. Let's go.